Good evening, Disna.
Good evening, madam. Good evening, madam.
Helika. Don't know whether I'm pronouncing correct. Is your
Yes,
name is Helika?
yes, Helika.
Helika. Helika. Right.
Helika.
Helika. Right. Okay. So yesterday I told that they have to do the multicultural that chapter, right? It's related to population by ethnicity, right? So here in this chapter, right? In this module, second chapter, comparing 5 countries, right? USA, South Africa, UK, New Zealand, Australia, right? So here, the composition of population by ethnicity and in selected countries, right? So almost most of the countries are multi-ethnic because of the migrants, right? So here you can see USA, white Americans, early settlers such as English, French, German, Spanish. And South Africa, whites, descendants of English and Dutch. The Boers, indigenous people, Bantus, Hottentots, and Coloreds, Indians and Malays, right? And the third country, UK, English, West Indian, Caribbean origin, and Asians, Indians, Pakistan. Now in UK, Sri Lankans also there, right? New Zealand, whites, indigenous people, Maoris. Even in New Zealand, the Sri Lankan population also now there, right? Also this table, uh, so they didn't mention the time period, right? And Australia whites, so Asian, Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, indigenous people, right? Even in Australia, our Sri Lankans are there now, right? So this is the population by ethnicity in these 5 countries, right? So here with this table, you can understand each and every country is having their own native people as well as migrants, right? So in the above table, we have indicated the composition of population in selected countries, right? So it will be clear to you that there are indigenous people as well as migrants residing in most of these countries. So you'd have remember we learn about language issues. Even in that chapter, we learn about what are the language using, right? So indigenous peoples, so how many indigenous people living and how many languages they are using. But now everything, every language is slowly disappearing, right? So in that way, this is related to that, right? We saw the language issues, right? But here, right, the ethnic uh, population, right? So here in some societies, the indigenous people, English in UK and blacks in South Africa are in the majority, right? So migrants migrate to foreign countries due to various reasons, such as for trade, or leaving their home countries for the reason like politics. In the case of migration of Vietnamese to Australia or for economic reason. Right, so just there, think of our Sri Lankans, why they migrate because of the war, and most of the young people, they like to be there, right, and for high education. So most of the people going for high education, they are not coming back to Sri Lanka, right? So most of the people after this, we had 3 decades of war. So during that time, they open up the visa, right? So the affected people would not have been gone because they don't have money, right? The people who had money went abroad and they settled and they are living very well, right? So migrants migrate to foreign countries due to various reasons, right? So here it was not mentioned. But what's more important is the division of power among these ethnic groups more than their numbers, right? In most societies, Australia, UK or USA, political and economic power is exerted by the majority. So even now, right, so the in America, right? They are thinking migrants are the threat, right? So they are losing their working opportunities, like, right? So every country earlier they don't have much people population, so they invite migrants. But now most of the countries are closed their doors, right? So here, such as South Africa before 1990, the minority can be more powerful, right? So the position of the migrants needs to be discussed due to one important reason, right? The colonialists who invaded certain countries exerted authority in countries such USA, South Africa, and New Zealand. So here they have selected 5 countries, right? And talking about the population, ethnicity, and things. So the migrants who came to those countries due to the reason did not have access to administrative or economic power. So for example, the Negroes who were brought to USA or the Asian who migrated to UK, even at present have a subordinate position. There are restrictions, no, right? So you have to apply for PR, right? After obtaining PR, then you have to apply for the citizenship. Then only you can uh, you have the benefit of that country, right? So if you are a refugee, they will pay refugee doll money, right? Uh, so, uh, so many refugees from Sri Lanka also went during the war period. So now I think they would have got their citizenship and things, right? So here the multi-ethnicity and educational problems. So here they are comparing how these multi-ethnic ethnicity of this country having educational problems because of these multicultural things. What are the problems arise in education? So in considering the influence of multi-ethnicity, on the emergence of educational problems, we need to remember some of the objectives that were expected to be achieved through education, right? So the module on foundation of education ESP 1202 has also discussed some of these objectives. So I think under philosophy, they have Foundation of Education ESP 1202 in your Apex campus, right? So equality of educational opportunity. Uh, so education is accepted as a basic human right in any country. So that should be within reach of everyone in the society. So whatever the ethnicity of the person, he or she should have an equal opportunity to receive an education, right? So I think 10 minutes before, right, one of our student, our campus student, is a single mother, right? She went to UK with two daughters, right? And she told she's a very good student of mine. So how the life is there in UK, right? So I asked whether you're happy. The it's not easy to live there because she don't have PR and all. Now the rules and regulations, everything got changed. Now I think they have to have 10 years to apply for PR, earlier 5 years. So, but she told, right, the education for their two daughters are free, right? So that is the most important thing. Because of that only she went, right? So most of the people who are migrating to that such countries, right? Because of they are going there because of their children's education. So, so equal opportunity education as a force in national development, right? So every country is expecting their country people have to learn, right? So educational society, learning society, and education for national integration. So this word is famous in our national goal, right? In the first goal, national goal, they're talking about social cohesion and national integration. So here, education is believed to be medium of national cohesion, right? In before 1958, right, in Sri Lanka, they had English medium education, right? At that time, all the ethnic people are they are in the same class, right? So at that time there was no these such feelings, right? So they are very friendly, and they happily live together, right? Uh, so they never think of the ethnicity, right? So only they thought that they are Sri Lankans, right? So many believe that by doing so, citizens from different ethnic groups will be able to suppress their ethnic loyalties and to have a sense of patriotism for the country and act in a positive manner, right? Patriotism, right? If I'm a Sri Lankan, I have to have the patriotism. I must love the country and I have to do some good thing for our country, right? So our people always think they are expecting so many things from the country. So always they are blaming the country is not done anything to us, but they never thought what we have done to the country, right? So the patriotism is that, right? So the Japan people have patriotism. They love their country, right? And educational policies in multi-ethnic societies. Uh, so we saw that educational policies. So yesterday we learned about Indian education. So there are 28 states, right? Each states have their own language, right? But to reduce the problems, right? The medium of instruction is their own language, but they have to learn English as a second language, right? So that is the Indian policy, right? So here, the policies from the historical period to other, among the policies adopted by multi-ethnic societies are following: segregation, assimilation, and multicultural education, bicultural education, intercultural education, right? So in our campus BEd, we have multicultural education as a subject, right? So a student, especially under BEd, a teacher must know regarding multicultural ethnicity, right? Because Sri Lanka is a multicultural country, right? So multi-ethnic. So how to, so the children also will be there, as especially class is also multi-ethnic. So how the teacher have to handle that type of class, right? Study selected multi-ethnic societies, right? The examples first they took is South Africa, right? So apartheid. So until recently, the interrelations among the different ethnic groups in South Africa were in extreme state of deterioration. So they live more or less as people of different countries within the same national boundaries. So it was as if there were several states within South Africa. So they brought the apartheid policy enforced in South Africa from 1948, right? So in 1948 only we got the independence, right? So 1948 was deliberately introduced to ensure the maintenance of colonialism and the subordination of the majority population of blacks and the Asian by the whites who were in minority, right? So the blacks are there, Asians are there, but whites who were in minority. Right. So try to identify the main characteristic of apartheid policy. So they already formulated apartheid policy and they are going to implement it, right? So by examining the policy decision, right, acceptance of the apartheid policy by the state in 1948. So they got the approval in 1948. So the deterioration of the ethnicity of every South African citizen through a population list. Even in Sri Lanka, the population time to time they used to this. Actually, the government must know how many female, how many male, old population, young population, right? According to that only, they have to prepare the budget, right? So legal prohibition of marriages as well as illicit relationship between whites and blacks. So these are the main characteristic of apartheid policy, right? Already accepted by the state, right, in South Africa. So every African citizen, South African citizen through a population list. So legal prohibition of marriages. That means the whites can't marry black. Legal prohibition of marriages. So setting apart prestigious job for whites only, right? So prestigious job only for whites, not for the blacks or Asian, right? Division of urban as well as rural areas into zones and separate allocation being made to different ethnic groups for residence and entrepreneurial activities, right? So see how they have prepared the policy, right, to safeguard the South African whites. And legalization of entry pass, which required any black person to retain an identity card. So entry pass is required. Uh, even in Sri Lanka, each and every person have to have the identity card, right? So enforcement of segregation for whites and blacks in transport, post offices, libraries, cinemas, and theaters in Cape Peninsula. So under apartheid policy, right, the transport, post office, libraries, cinemas and theaters, right, they have the separate policy. So, in South Africa, when Mahatma Gandhi worked as a lawyer, right? He's from India and Asian. So they are considering Asian also as blacks, right? So when he traveled in first class, they forcibly thrown away from that uh, train, right? That means the only whites can travel in the first class, right? So that type of policy is apartheid policy. So allocation of representation of blacks in the national and state legislatures, representation. So percentage is there, right? So apartheid is the segregation of different ethnic groups, right? So they got the approval in 1948, but this apartheid policy segregate each and every ethnic group. Separate geographical areas as well as in public places, employment and politics. Right, so transport also have the segregation, post offices. So they are giving first preference for whites, right? Libraries, cinema and theater in Cape Peninsula. So what do you think will be the impact of these political and socio-economic policies on education? So they have, they say enforce the policy, now they got the approval and they are going to implement the apartheid policy. So the segregation is going to come, right? So in certain areas, so certain things can be done, right? So will they affect in the education? That is the question, right? You can see separation in education in South Africa, how they separated for schools and education. So in 1953, Bantu Education Act, right? So after another 6 years, 1959, Universities Education Act. And 1963, Colored People Education Act. 1965, Indians Education Act. Separation in education in South Africa, right? So they, time to time, they brought acts, right? So we have summarized the changes that resulted from the above acts below. So they have this formulated 4 acts, right? So what is the impact of these acts, right? So changes in South African education. So the characteristic feature of South African education was existent for 4 subsystems of education, distinctly separated from each other for the different ethnic groups, right? Among these, the 3 systems demarcated for non-white ethnic group were of much lower quality than what was provided for the whites, right? So it's like national schools and rural school, right? So national school is for whites and the rural school without any facilities will be provided for blacks and Asians, right? So the change of obtaining university education for a white child was 100 times greater than for a black African child. Right? So you can see the discrimination. Um, and out of the white males, 49% have received high school certificate. So the percentage of education, whites 49.7. Among the African, the percentage was only 8, right? So you can see the difference, huge difference. The ratio of white to blacks in South Africa was 1:4. So the population is high, African population is high. Whites are the minority people, but anyway, every opportunities, facilities uh, given to white South Africans. Yet the number of university graduates among the African was only around 5,400, but about 200,000 whites were university graduates, right? So this information, right? So is from SMOC 1983, right? So 1983 means 93, 2003, 2023, 33 years old, right? So the numbers and things can be definitely there will be a change in these numbers, right? So according to the above, it is clear that the non-whites in South Africa have faced discrimination and the reasons for embarking on policies on apartheid are explained in the following statement of Dr. A. Verwoerd, who later became Prime Minister of South Africa. Right, so they have prepared 4 acts. No, the first one is Bantu. So Bantu education should be totally based on the local state and the environment of indigenous community. So Bantu Act is for indigenous community. Right, the training and learning which they gain through education should conform to the life chances before them. And in the government plan for South Africa, Bantus do not have status higher than of manual labor among Europeans. So indigenous people of South Africa can be laborers only, manual laborers, not more than that. So with such an aim, the whites established a centralized system of education for Bantus. Conditions governing each school were formulated and it became illegal to establish or maintain a school for Bantus without the central government approval. So there are so many restrictions for their education. The minister had broad powers related to school management, service condition of teachers, programs of study, and medium of instruction, school fund and management activities. Right? So the minister had broad powers. So it will be clear to you that white attempts were made to separate different ethnic groups through socio-economic policies. Educational policies tried to provide an education which was deemed suitable for different ethnic groups by rulers. Right, so the indigenous people Bantu education, right? So according to that, different ethnic groups are given different education side. So the rulers taught the black children special curricula through their mother tongue. The instruction of English or Afrikaans language was given only to ensure that they would get bare knowledge to understand the instruction given to them as laborers. right? So the medium of instruction also uh, selectively giving. So in this module, lot of data is given, right? Here you can see the Lang Commission, which collected information on South African education, revealed there only 64.5% of the total government expenditure on education was spent on the education of the whites, who comprise 6.4% of the population, right? So most of the money is spent on whites, not for the other ethnic group. So the amount spent on the education of blacks, who are 71% of the population. So here the population 71% is black, only 6.4 population is whites, but um, so every facilities are given to that 6.4% population. So here you can see ethnic group whites per capita expenditure 3,739, Indian 2,659, mixed 669, and blacks 930, that is in 1983. So these numbers, of course, definitely um, changed, right? So almost 83, 93, 2003, 2000, more than 30 years. So education was compulsory for all children between ages of 7 to 16, except for black children. So they are showing a discrimination on black people. 22% of black children between age to 16 to 14 had not entered schooling in 1988. Right? So you can see the literacy rate, right? The 71.2 population is blacks, but 22% of black children between age of 6 to 14 had not entered schooling in 1988, very recently. So student-teacher ratio was 41:1 in school for black children, but in the whites, it was 20:1. Of the black students in grade 10 in 1988, the percentage studying physics, mathematics, and technical drawing were 15%, 32 and 3 respectively. So only 3% black students only, they are allowing only 3% black students to learn physics, mathematics, and technical drawing. So in 1980, ratio of white students to black students who had been selected to universities and represented in technical college was 10:1. 10 white students and 1 black student. Recent changes have indicated that political, social, and economic forces cannot be combated by apartheid policies. So everything is they prepared under apartheid policy because it was approved by a state on 1948. So the education facilities and everything was decided according to that policy, right? Later, right? So they are thinking political, social, and economical forces. They are thinking of apartheid policies. In 1980, Manpower Commission of South Africa concluded that to expand the South African economy, high-level manpower should be improved drastically in respect of numbers. So the blacks are the 71% for 71.2, almost They are working as laborers, so they are the productive people. So they argued that any country whose level of industrial development is high cannot afford to retain a majority of its population at a low level of education. Here, the majority of population is black 71.2, but they are keeping them in lower education, but it's now it's discussing, right? So by 1990, after 10 years, due to objections within the country, as well as economical deterioration, the National Party, which was in power, had to change its policies. So in 1948, they formulated apartheid policies, right? It's a very discriminative policy. So they are giving the special attention to whites, right? But in 1990, so you can see some changes. According to the new laws, state schools could follow 3 models in admitting children of non-whites.
ඒක යටට යනවා අම්මේ. උඩට යට නටන්නේ මේ උඩට උඩ සියල්ල. ඉගෙන අලුත් වෙනවද? ඒවද?
So, yes. Kanchana, can you mute your mic, please? Right. So, 3 models in admitting children of non-whites, right? So, whites and non-whites. Under non-whites, Asian, blacks, and other these ethnicity people included. But there are 3 models. A, to obtain less assistance from the state and become private schools. So private school means they have to pay fees, no, right? And model B, to continue as before as state schools, but retaining authority on admission policy. Even though it is state school, there is a admission policy. Model C, to become assisted school with only teachers' salaries being paid by the state. So for the non-whites, there are 3 types of schools, model A, B, C. Right? This is in 1990. So the reforms proposal made public in June 1991 had identified 3 main areas in education which had problems. So shortcomings in education of blacks in relation to teachers, classroom, and other educational services. So these model schools are not much cared about the they didn't get any assistance from the state, less assistance, right? The political influences on the education system, which had led to ethnic-based policy and several conflicts, opposition, breakdown of discipline in certain group areas, right? So, provision of educational facilities in a society torn by ethnic, cultural, and economic cleavages. So, educational facilities also separated. That means whites and non-whites. So, non-whites only go to these model schools. So, model schools are with less facilities, right? And so they are having admissions policies. So after 1990, you can see some changes. in educational policies, right? Provides an opportunity to obtain lifelong education for every individual. Expansion of the primary education program. They got a new government, right? And that government made education free and compulsory, right? So please read this article. This is exercise 1. Read this article. Given below is an extract of an article in a newspaper published recently. Read this, please. Right? So shall I move a little bit up? So in this article, in a South African school that had been ordered to destroy the ethnic barriers as an experiment, the black children spent their first day laughing loudly with glee with their newly found white friends. Right. So now, uh, so after 1994, right? Uh, so they are destroying ethnic barriers. That means the state ordered whites and blacks have to be together in the school, right? So the blacks are very happy to be with the whites students, right? So even though the few children who mix together spend their time happily, the empty chairs in the school which was once a whites-only school, told the unhappy tale of a small town in which the barriers of apartheid had been broken down, but where the rifts of racism still continue. So earlier, the school was white school, right? Only white students were there. So now the state admitted black students also, right? So the black students are willing to be with the white students. They like it, right? But to see only blacks are there. There's no white, empty chairs, right? So on Thursday, 22 to 1996, February 1996, when the last bell rang in the African town named Podgoritias, right, only 30 out of 800 children in this school were present. So see the racism, right? So the whites didn't present to the school. Only 30 students were there. All the other parents had kept the children at home, either due to an unwillingness to allow their children to mix with those of the ethnic groups, or due to the fear of going against the views of the whites, right? So on Wednesday, that means before that day, the Supreme Court rejected the request of school to permit the provision of a separate education for the children of the Afrikaners, Dutch, French, and Germans, and ordered that black children also be admitted to the school. So prior the date, right, they have requested. So this school, we can have only the whites, not the non-whites. But anyway, the Supreme Court rejected that, and they requested to permit blacks also to the school, right? This is an article, right? Read these questions and see whether you can give any kind of comments to these questions or answers. So what is your opinion about this first question? In your opinion, what kind of attitudes did the whites in this town hold on mixed education? So mixed education means white plus blacks, white plus non-whites. So what are the attitudes the whites had? That means check your understanding. So the whites have the negative um, opinion. They don't want to be with the blacks,
Blacks.
non-white. Yes. Yes, Disna. Right? And yes. Any ideas? Answers? And what was the policy of rulers regarding the education of different ethnic groups? Earlier policy is apartheid, right? So it is a highly discriminated policy because it is giving priority for whites. But later, after 1994, actually in 1996, the Supreme Court ordered to have mixed education, right? So according to the newspaper report published here, can you expect an improvement of the relations between different ethnic groups in this town through mixed education in school? Whether this situation can improve by this enforcing this policy. What is your idea?
We cannot expect an improvement.
Yes, because they are very strong, right? So out of 800, only 30 students were present to the school rights. That means 770 parents not send the students to be with the black ones. That much hate is there, right? So we can't expect in a short period, but in long term, sometimes they can have some changes, right? Right. So that is in South Africa. So what type of ethnical situation up to 1996, right? So now we are going to learn about the United States of America. Do you know how the different ethnic group listed in table 1? We'll see that, right? So before 64, just like the blacks in South Africa, the blacks in UK were also looked down upon and segregated because their forefathers were brought as slaves. Right, so they brought them they brought the blacks to the country to work only, slaves, right? Civil Rights Act forbade discrimination on the basis of ethnicity in the spheres of education, housing and employment, and in public places. So this act helped to improve the status of Afro Americans. Even Sri Lanka is also faced the same issue, right? So the estate workers, right? They brought from the colonial period, they brought from India, right? So the same type of, so those people also looked down upon and segregated, and even they didn't the citizenship, right? For a longer period, even still, some of the people, they don't have citizenship of Sri Lanka, right? So without citizenship of Sri Lanka, they can't apply for a job, right? If the father is having the citizenship only, the family can go with it, right? So in USA, also, the status of blacks was indicative of their education and socio-economic status at a time when they were slaves. The concept of equal educational opportunity was not relevant for them. Slaves means they have to work only, right? No any other facilities for them. So in USA also, Supreme Court judgment given in 1896, long before 1896, reflects the understanding that prevailed in USA before 1900. The judgment decreed the whites and blacks should have access to separate but equal schools. So 1900, that era also separate schools, not mixing, right? So these two types of school differ from each other according to the following characteristic. Facilities needed for education such as buildings, equipments. Teachers' qualification when determine the quality of education provided to students. So you can see the disparity, right? So for the white school, they have good infrastructure and qualified teachers, but not the black school, right? So the Supreme Court pointed out in 1954, in considering the case between Brown versus Board of Education, Topeka, that as the school providing education for different ethnic groups differed from each other. So that they were a violation of the Constitution, right? So as a Constitution, even though the schools are different, same facilities, but it was not happen. The Supreme Court decreed that a desegregation of schools should be effected, yet 10 years later, only 3% of the schools had been desegregated. 10 years later, 3%. So you can see the attitudinal change, right? That means very slow. So 10% of the black children were studying in desegregated school. Then they enforced Child Rights Act in 1964. It empowered the Department of Justice to initiate court action to compel desegregation of schools. So there's no segregation now, they have to be united. So Department of Education was given the power to allocate resources in order to resolve problems that ensured with school desegregation. Now they are trying to equalize the schools. Educational institutions which were supported by the federal government were to admit children without taking their background characteristic into consideration. So it was decided to stop supporting those institutions which did not conform to these requirements, right? So in India, right, the racism, that means the race, so the race came according to their job, what they are doing. So certain races, right, they are not accepting, even they are not providing education, and also they can't go for job, right? Dalit, that race. But now the government is allocating certain percentage. They can study and also they can go for jobs. So so yesterday one gentleman asked a question of why comparative education means why we are comparing these countries and all, right? So yesterday we compared the education system of different schools, right? But here you can see the disparities, right? Every country is having this problem in the early time, right? So step by step, it decreasing, right? So 10 to 15 years before, even the parents are not allowing mixed marriage in Sri Lanka. But now it is very common, right? Sinhala Tamil mixing, Sinhala Tamil Muslim mixing, right? So they're accepting. That means time to time, right? Because of the education, right? You can change these attitudes. So residential segregation of ethnic groups. The above discussion indicate that the attempts made to maintain common schools for black and white children through school desegregation has not been entirely successful. So as discrimination against the blacks were most evident in the southern states, in which majority of the blacks were living, right? So even the residential also segregated, right? So the whites don't like to stay with blacks, right? So even now, right, in England, uh, so the London city, right, uh, the whites left that city because the most of the Asians were living there. They don't like the living pattern of Asians, so they went for a faraway places, right? So that means still that feeling is there, right? So discrimination against blacks were most evident in southern states in which majority of the blacks were living. They started migrating to northern states in order to gain access to better life and social acceptance. So they are moving to other places to live peacefully. So in 1972, the effects of desegregation were evaluated. What is the evaluation showed are stated below. Right? Please read these two paragraphs. So can anyone explain this for me, please? What was there in this paragraph? So actually what happened? To live peacefully, the blacks were migrated to northern side, right? So because in southern side they have lot of discrimination, no? So they wanted to migrate, and so they are thinking uh, the northern state will have less discrimination, and they are moving to that side. Actually, what happened? When the blacks are migrated to northern, right? Those who were stated whites, those who have stayed in that northern side, migrated to another place. Again, the same thing, right? Blacks only school they have to attend, right? So the residential segregation, even though they migrate to another place, right, they have to be with their own people, right? So they don't want to mix. So because of that, now the state realize this, right? So the people are not going to mingle. So the what is the next step of state? They made a new decision. Justice Roth declared the Detroit, which was at the time the fourth largest city in the US, had erred in maintaining segregated schools and ordered that schools should be desegregated through busing. Busing means that in order to ensure representation of all ethnic groups in schools, students should be transported by bus from one residential area to school in other areas. Now again, the government, right, enforce another decision. According to the percentage of people, the schools have to have student population, right? So step by step, they are taking step to reduce the segregation uh, and other strategies of ensuring equal educational opportunity. So they are trying a lot, right? Struggling. Yet another strategy has been used to reduce the disparity in education of white and black children is compensatory education. They are giving this assistance, helping, right? Money. Here, shortcomings in educational system which prevent the implementation of equal educational opportunity are identified, and resources are allocated to rectify these shortcomings. So there are two important programs launched to achieve this objective. So government is also trying to mingle these two groups, right? And now they are uh, introducing a assistance program. In these areas which had large black population, Operation Head Start, a quality preschool education was provided to these children. So now the government decided to provide quality education for blacks. And the second decision, Operation Head Start, was continued throughout other school levels. First, they started with preschool and they are continuing with other levels. That means secondary schools. But there is no evidence that the segregation program or compensatory education programs have reduced the disparities in performance between black and white children. Even though they introduced this primary, secondary, so state is giving a good education. Uh, it's very difficult to combine them, right? So here, even in school, which are reported as high quality schools at every level, even today, black children demonstrate a lower performance than the white children. So in the performance also, there's a huge difference. So during recent years, multicultural education has been employed as a strategy to manage problems arising in plural societies. So now you would have understood why we have to learn multicultural education. That's how they suffered. The minority, even though they are majority people, 71.12% people, but they are not getting any opportunities or facilities. Only the 6.4% of minority whites are getting all those things. So how people suffered, right? So how the attitude of the people and why they are treating the blacks in a separate, so in that manner, right? So now, of course, America is this appreciating the multi-ethnic classrooms, right? So they are giving so many facilities for multi-ethnic societies, right? Uh, so they are thinking the multi-ethnic classroom is an asset for them. The children learn lot of languages, lot of attitudes, lot of cultural exchange, right? So during recent years, multicultural education employed, right? Three approaches that have been used in USA to provide multicultural education are curriculum reforms, achievement improvement, and intergroup education. So here you can see in this multicultural educational approaches. So first method is curriculum reform, right? So whatever the change the state wanted to take, this implement to the society means it should go through education. So they have included into curriculum description, revision of curriculum content or addition of new content. So the major aim of this curriculum reform, inclusion of content, different cultural groups in the curriculum in order to develop the ability of viewing curriculum content for a new perspective, right? So they are included these concepts into the education, and they are trying to make the attitudinal side. So examples of use, important dates and celebration to honor heroes in the culture, preparation of multicultural handbooks and multicultural content, workshop for teachers and administrators, addition of multicultural content to textbooks. So Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, so those people also from black, the African side. So now, of course, accepted by the people, right? So they are good personalities, like, but they suffered a lot because of the discrimination. So the achievement, student from lower social class, girls and disabled students, presentation of application of theories and strategies to improve academic achievement of these groups. And major aim, improvement of academic achievement level of different groups that vary according to ethnicity, cultural, and gender status. Example of use: learning styles and abilities programs prepared to suit different learning styles, bilingual, bicultural. And in the language, when we are learning language, they emphasize bilingual education, right? For certain extent, they are using bilingual, right? Incorporating languages and culture of Afro-American children, special mathematics and science programs for girls. So intergroup education, preparation of knowledge, subject content, and procedures to develop democratic intergroup attitudes and values. Right? So the government has taken steps, right? So what is important to note here is that some consider multicultural education as a new teaching learning area to be introduced into the curriculum. Some consider, right? The others consider this should be psychological stance and should encompass the entire curriculum in general, right? Even in that, you can see the different perspectives. So according to the first view, multicultural education is an activity that will implemented in the periods in school timetable. So even in Sri Lanka, from the beginning itself, Montessori's preschools, right from that point, there are these this organizing functional day, right? So every special festivals are celebrating by that means multi school and Montessori anywhere. If it is a medium of the English medium Montessori, definitely all ethnicity people will be there. So they are celebrating all type of ethnic festivals, exchange program, like, right? So here even they are suggesting that. Even after the implementation of above strategies, peaceful interrelations among ethnic group on equal educational opportunity have not been fully realized. Blacks reject the cultural pattern of white American because of the very fact of their having been disadvantages of centuries. So they reject Christianity and embrace Islam. At the same time, militant organizations such as Black Power and Black Panther have sprung up. So that several efforts are being taken constantly to prevent the nation being torn apart on the ethnic basis is a hopeful feature. So whatever the steps taken by the government, right, it's very difficult to connect these two ethnics, right? So that is the reality. So now we learn about two countries, right? First one is South Africa, second one is USA and New Zealand. Right, so can you read this? Try to understand, read and understand. So in this part, we are learning the past, what happened in the multi-ethnic groups, right? So same like if they are bringing people from other country to work as a workforce, laborers, so even not they are calling laborers slaves, right? So slave means they can't ask for any kind of facilities, right? So all these countries are Commonwealth countries, not Asian countries, right? So New Zealand, uh, Maoris, so they are indigenous people. The original settlers, they were conquered by the English. The first formal school in New Zealand was established by the missionaries. So the colony in the under the colonial system, British also established missionary schools in Sri Lanka, right? Until 1847, the medium of instruction was Maori language. Both adults and children studied in this school, right? So, so in the early stage, native language schools are there. According to the Indigenous School Act in 1867, village schools were established with assistance from the state, and these schools were administered by Department of Internal Affairs. So these were lay schools and medium of instruction was English. It was forbidden to use Maori language in these schools. So they also had a separate indigenous school, Maoris language school, right? So Indigenous School Act 1877 permitted Maoris to admit the children in public school. And 1879, the Department of Education accepted the responsibility of monitoring all Maori schools that were under the state. So in Sri Lanka also, there are a lot of missionary schools and private schools. So later, the state government took all the private school under their system, right? Likewise, even here, the Maori schools are monitored by the state. So here the assignment, do you notice any similarities in educational policies of rulers of New Zealand and South Africa? Right, so apartheid policies were fully discriminated in South Africa. And after that, 1996, right, they brought some changes and they tried to combine both things, right? In New Zealand also Maori schools, and they took all the Maori schools under control, that government, right? So even here in New Zealand, changes in educational policies. So recently, 1930 and 1940 led to a change in educational policies. So the Maori population increased rapidly and in the urban areas. Now they are moving to urban side. Due to intermarriage, an ethnically mixed population emerged. So here they are mixing, right? In 1955, there are some recommendations. More attention to be given Maori arts and crafts, history and language in all primary schools. A special offer to be appointed in charge of Maori education officer, special officer, to commence a residential training program for skilled occupations in rural areas, and to request for research with government support about social, linguistic, and pedagogical factors leading to low educational achievement. Right? So you can see the government, right? Because under government, all the multi-ethnic groups are there, right? So the responsibility of the state is to look after all. So they are trying to combine them, right? So the Department of Education is interested in the teaching of Maori language in the country school, but yet they are reluctant to make it compulsory subject, right? So that discrimination is there. So in addition, Department of Education in New Zealand has opened private hostels and centers for students to engage in homework in order to reduce overcrowding in Maori homes. Uh, So the variation that should be paid attention to are in some societies, the majority consider themselves as discriminated against while the minority feel similarly. So also they gave the priority for minority whites. Even UK the same. The USA the same, right? Even in New Zealand is the same, right? So that's what in all countries the indigenous population is now decreasing, mixing with other groups, and the youngsters of indigenous people also wants to be with the whites, right? So things are changing. If we are taking Sri Lanka, let us now consider the situation which has emerged in our country. You are aware of ethnic composition of the population of Sri Lanka. If you do not know, find out the percentages of Sinhalese, Tamils, Moors, Malays, and Burgese in our population. So these are the ethnic group we have in our country. So the background, the conquest of Sri Lanka by the British had a direct influence on the education opportunities available to different ethnic groups in Sri Lanka. So they established missionary schools in certain places. So that places developed. From that school only they took the people for the working group, right? The major aim of the British was to exploit the economic resources of the country. As a result, they entrusted the responsibility of providing education in the different parts of the country to different missionary groups. So mostly the people who visited, that means the colonial period, every country came and they try to make our Sri Lankan people, that means to change, especially they are giving priority for the religion and they are changing the religion of our people. Mostly to get jobs, right? People change their religion to Christian. Education in the northern region was handed over to the American Missionary Society, which was the most efficiently organized and which had the most resources. So because of that, the missionary schools, the Jaffna side, this develop in education, right? So they lead in education because of these missionary schools. So they led to a position to a great advantage for the ethnic group resident in that part of the country than for the ethnic groups. As a result, participation in education and the level of educational achievement was higher for the people in the north. So they got the opportunity to study in the missionary school, English medium schools. They thus had better access to public service. Because of that, the missionary school education, they got the jobs also. So the educational policy, which was in operation until regaining of independence in 1948, benefited all ethnic groups equally. In 1945, local languages were used as the media of instruction in primary classes. And from 1950, his policy was extended to secondary and tertiary level. So right now, people are worrying why they change the medium of instruction. If it is English medium, that's good. Right now, international schools are, it's like mushrooms, right? Day by day, they are starting international schools. And the parents also wants to have their children in English environment, right? So 1956, with the enactment of single language as the official language, the inter-ethnic relations in Sri Lanka started to change. Before that, they never think of the these ethnic differences, right? After 1956 only, the people think of ethnic differences. So Tamils over the official languages policy, the Tamil Language Act was passed in 1970 with the new admissions policy to universities. There was further deterioration of inter-representation of Tamil students in science-oriented inter-ethnic relations. One reason for introducing this change was the opposition to the over-representation of Tamil students in science-oriented faculties. So they had the best schools, so they are entering the university from those schools. So even in the university, the Tamil representatives are high, right? So during 3-year period from 1973 to 75, amendments, standardization of marks, modification of district quota, and standardization of marks and district quotas, right? That means they thought that most of the students are from northern side, means so the other students are not developing, so they are giving quotas for districts, right? So every this ethnic group, and everywhere even from other district, the students can enter, right? So do you know what standardization of marks is? So now Z-score is created because of that, right? So according to the Z-score only, the students are selected for the universities. So here you can see the percentage of Tamil students in selected fields of study. In 1971, engineering 24.7. In 1974, 16.3. Medicine, 1971, 39.3, 74, 25.4. All sciences, 36 to 24. That means after this standardization, district quotas, so it will bring Tamil students percentage is decreasing, right? It is possible that changes in the above figures had resulted not directly and solely from the method of selection to the university, but also due to a better equalization of facilities for science education. So in any case, the reduction of the above percentages is significant. So this is the quota system. In 1975, only district quota, 75, 30% district quota, 70% merit. In earlier, only merit, right? So at that time, most of the northern part students entered the university, right? Later, they make change. In 75, only district quota, 76, 30% district, 70% merit. 78, 30% merit, 55 district quota, 15% underprivileged district. So at that time, Kilinochchi, Mannar, right? So that Hambantota, so that type of parts are considering to have more unprivileged district, considered as unprivileged district. So they gave 15% for them. In 1987, 30% merit, 65% district quota, 5% unprivileged district. Right. So as summary, up to now, we have looked at several procedures used in the selection of students to university which influence inter-ethnic relations in Sri Lanka. So during the later half of the 1970s, deterioration in ethnic relations culminated in armed conflict. Liberation Tamil Tigers and several small Tamil militant youth groups have started demanding a state of their own. Right? So all of a sudden, they have reduced the number of students entering the university. So that will make the conflict, right? Failure to maintain national unity due to the above situation has seen criticism being leveled against education for not fulfilling the role expected of it. The shortcomings of education that have been identified are segregation of schools, university by medium. Some countries lack any representation of some ethnic groups. Lack of link language. The perception that university admission policies were introduced deliberately to discriminate against Tamil-speaking students. And realizing the importance of education in bringing about national harmony, policymakers have taken several steps. So like the other countries like South Africa, USA, and New Zealand, right? They took measures to reduce the conflict situation. Even in Sri Lanka also the same. Changing the official language policy and granted singular Tamil and English national language status. Inclusion of Tamil language as a linked language in the curriculum. Gradually going back to the university admission policy using merit as the criteria. Inclusion of subject content to induce inter-ethnic understanding and national unity. So you can see all the countries have the same type of issues, right? So I think that shows, right, in a multi-ethnic country, so they are having this type of issues. So most of the countries have, so 90% of countries are multi-ethnic. So for some countries, right, they are not admitting migrants. So that are countries are different, right? And our Sri Lankans mostly thinking of language, English language, right? They don't want to learn other language. It's very difficult. So they are preferring English medium countries, right? They're migrating to that. So to what extent will these efforts be successful? Re-socialization of children by adults of all ethnic groups who cling onto stereotypical attitudes regarding other ethnic groups. And preparation of adults to practice procedures for improving inter-ethnic harmony and understanding. And residential pattern which have created distance and separation of the two major ethnic groups. So that is also, the north means only Tamil. East means as some side singular. But to see in the upcountry, right, it's a mixed group. So they can understand Sinhala, they can speak Sinhala, but not the northern and east people. Now I think they can speak, right? So uh, these are the outcomes for this subject, the lesson. Describe the multi-ethnic composition of society selected for the study. Analyze how problems related to multi-ethnicity have emerged in these societies. Describe the steps taken by the rulers to resolve the identified educational problems. Evaluate the extent to which the educational and social problems have been solved. Though these measures identify the strategies to resolve problem related to education in Sri Lanka, which is a multi-ethnic society. Right, so the problems are rising with multicultural ethnic side means, right? So we have to mediate, right? As teachers, we have to understand how we can connect the people, right? So without any conflict, right? How we can have the peaceful multi-ethnic classroom. So issues in language in education, we already learned, right? You had the PPT.
Madam,
So I
can we
prepared
can we
this presentation for these things. Yes. Yes.
Madam, can we get those things as PDFs? These notes?
Notes, that's what I prepared the PowerPoint presentation. But unluckily, it got erased, right? I can't find it um, because I lost my last laptop also. I can't open that. Something happened to that laptop. This one is new, right? Anyway, if I can found that, I will send, right? So if possible, I will take this copy the notes and send it to you. So this
Okay.
book is having 143 pages. But anyway, the language issues and things are already you have, no, right?
Okay, madam.
Excuse me, ma'am. We need the yesterday's one also. Can we get that one, yesterday's one?
Yesterday's one, this upload into the chat box. Just try.
No, ma'am. We didn't get anything on Zoom chat.
We didn't get anything.
Yeah. We need both the PowerPoint presentations.
Uh, the first session only. We got only the theories one. The first session notes only we got.
Hmm. But anyway, I sent all the presentation to Apex WhatsApp. Normally, they used to send it to you all. No, you all didn't get anything, right?
Yes, madam.
No,
we
ma'am.
didn't.
We didn't get anything.
Excuse me, madam, even I also couldn't participate to the first three sessions. So, waiting to get modules or document or something.
Another thing, madam, one more questions. So when will we have another this theories of language learning class? That's the separate one, right? That's for the TESOL student, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
will be different. Yes.
So the ma'am only will be conducted, right? The TESOL.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So when can we have
there will
that
be
class?
lecturers for that. I think your coordinator will. You have to this request from the coordinator.
Okay. Right, ma'am. Thank you.
Mm. So I'm uploading. Can you check? File could not end.
Okay, madam, there is.
So have you got a few presentations? So can you check that, please?
Yes, madam, we got.
Japan, of
This is
course,
related to.
now only it's loading.
Madam, second one is can't open.
Have you created a WhatsApp group? Have you created a WhatsApp group for you all?
Not yet, madam.
Yes, ma'am, we have one.
So if anyone can this create a WhatsApp group, it's easy for me to share the presentation. Here you have mentioned that it is not clear, right?
Ma'am, can you please share your WhatsApp number if it's possible so that we can contact you and get the documents and share it among us if it works.
So have you got PPTs? How many PPTs you all got?
Ma'am, the ones you did yesterday?
Education system and comparative education PDF. So I have sent so many, but only two are there.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes. So
Uh,
now I think I have sent for. Can you check whether you have received it?
Ma'am, some documents are not opening, so
But we
Hello, ma'am.
can't share it to the WhatsApp, madam.
Yesterday one only we didn't get.
There are 4. Uh, so
ma'am, is there any other ways we can communicate with you to get these documents, ma'am?
Madam, can't you send to this WhatsApp group, madam? Why can't you send to this one?
So I have shared all the presentation to the Apex WhatsApp group, right? So I'll ask the coordinator to share with you all, right? Okay.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Okay.
That will be clear, I think, because even now I have uploaded so many, but so any clarification? Today's it's actually the painful past of people. So when we are thinking of ethnical, multi-ethnic, so definitely there will be a clash between ethnic groups, right? So in some political wise, they sometimes they are creating. So in South Africa, of course, they have formulated apartheid policy. It's full of discrimination, and after that, government realize and makes changes in policy. But anyway, they couldn't connect the paper, right? So when the black people are going to the white side, the white people are going to somewhere else, right? And USA, uh, so they brought the slaves, blacks. So they considered them as slaves, right? Not they are country people, right? So even they have formulated different policies, right? But uh, not much successful. Later, now of course there's no. They accepted the multicultural setup, right? And most of the sportsmen are blacks in America. So now they have given rights to them. In New Zealand also the same, Maoris. So earlier they were the majority people, and then later they decrease in numbers. And even in Sri Lanka, the same problem was there. So under multi-ethnicity, right, this type of things can be happen, right? So when we are comparing only, we came to know that those developed countries like South Africa, America, and this New Zealand, right? Those 3 countries also had problems between ethnics, right? So any other questions?
Excuse me, ma'am. I saw these assignments there in the module that you were explaining today. Are we supposed to? Is there a deadline, or are we supposed to start it now? Because I saw there were two assignments, like
So the
in the
assignment,
module.
module assignments.
Yes, the one that you explained like now. It is a
Right, I
module,
will.
right? Yeah.
So that is a PDF. Don't know whether I can copy. Right, I'll try to at least type and send it send it to you all. Right,
Okay.
and I will ask whether I can share this module with you all also. Right.
Okay.
Okay, then. Good night.
Good night, madam.
Oh, good
Good
night.
night.
Good night,
Good
ma'am.
night,
Thank you.
madam.